undergraduate. Then we, at that point, moved to Southeastern Seminary at Wake Forest in North Carolina, and then in 2018 we left to go overseas. And so you can see here we're going to have some different slides that will hopefully show you what we're talking about. I know words are very powerful, but pictures can really bring that to life. And so that's our family. I'm Jamie, my wife Lauren. I'll let her introduce herself in just a minute. We have Maddox here on the left. He is now 4 years old, almost 5. His birthday's next month. And Hattie, she is 2.5. Her birthday is in March of next year. She'll be 3 years old. And so Hattie, she was actually born in Indore, India, where we served for a little over 6 years. Maddox was born in 2021. At that time, we remember that year, we were not allowed as foreigners to have, or my wife, not me, my wife was not allowed to actually birth our son in India because of COVID at the time. And so our medical team said, well, you got to come back to the States. And so we ended up coming back just for a little bit of time for Maddox to be born. And so that is a little bit about me and our children. Lauren, you want to introduce yourself?
I'm Lauren, and we've been married for a little over 10 years. And like you said, we moved to the field in 2018. I'm originally from Montgomery, Alabama. I went to Auburn University, so I cheer for the other Tigers. Sorry, Clemson fans. But yeah, we moved to North Carolina. That's kind of my second home, I guess. That was our married home. We went to seminary. I worked on campus while he was getting his master's, and we moved overseas in March of 2018. We had taken a vision trip for about 10 days to the country of India to visit a missionary that had been sent out by the church that we were a part of in North Carolina. And it wasn't really a vision trip at the time. We just went to visit, care for him, take him a care package, and just kind of see the work that was happening on the field. And that was, we'd been married for right at a year at that point. And we got home, we were in the process to go overseas with the IMB, and just felt the Lord lay it on our heart to join that team. They recruited us to their team. They said, if you want a job here, you've got it. We need more laborers here in central India. And so that is the job that we took. And we moved overseas in 2018. And that's where we were for our first 6.5 years on the field. So if you'll go to the next slide.
She said something about Auburn. On the way here, our almost 5 and 3-year-old were singing War Eagle Fly Down. She's trained him really well. That's the Auburn fight song. I don't know what got into them this morning, but that was my son on the way here, for whatever reason.
So just to give you a little bit of context, this is a world map. The grayed out part, obviously the world map. The green country is India. It's big. It takes up probably a third of what the United States takes up. And it's the #1 most populated country in the world. They surpassed China about a 1.5 years ago as far as world population goes. And so there's a lot of lostness there, so much lostness. If you've ever seen one of those maps that has the green and yellow and orange and red dots for lostness percentages in the countries and cities, India is one of the highest concentrations of lostness in the world. And that's what really drew us to India. We joined a team right in the middle of the country. Most people have heard of Delhi or Mumbai when they think of the country of India. We lived in a smaller city. There were not a lot of foreigners there, but the population was about 3.5 to 4 million people in our city. Montgomery, Alabama is about 250,000 people. And I don't know what it is here in Greenville. We lived in Raleigh, which was closer to 500,000 to 1 million, I think. So to go there, there's people everywhere. There's people everywhere, and there's cows everywhere, and there's dogs everywhere. Oh, absolutely. And so that's where we were for the first 6.5 years on the field. And India is a predominantly Hindu country. It's also the highest concentration of Islam in the world, just because of sheer number of people that live there. But we worked among the Hindus. If you don't know anything about Hinduism, it is a polytheistic religion. That means that they don't believe in just one creator God like we do as believers. They believe in thousands, if not millions, of gods that they serve and they worship in various ways, depending on what type of blessing they're trying to receive. So there is a goddess for money, there is a goddess for love, there is a god for strength and power and health. And each family kind of takes on worship in their own way. Some of them are a bit more nominal, some of them are really devout and have temples or shrines, little shrines in their own home. They do what's called puja, which is where they chant mantras, they do things with their hands, they burn incense, and they do lots of rituals. It's a very ritualistic religion.
And so it's very revolutionary for them to see Christians coming together, because a lot of Hindu worship, though it can take place corporately, is usually very quick, very fast. You bow, you go before the temple, you bow for about 5 seconds, then you keep on with your day. So it's very enlightening for a Hindu to see Christians coming together, singing together, praying together, listening to the Word of God, encouraging each other from the Word. And so when God really grabs hold of the hearts of somebody from, especially a Hindu background, they love the Lord. And it's very encouraging for us as believers to see that transformation happen in their life. And so the question then for us on the next slide is, what does our work actually look like? And so one of the foundational verses for our ministry, 2 of them specifically, is 2 Timothy 2:2. You have Paul writing to Timothy, encouraging him and saying, Timothy, what you have seen from me in the presence of many witnesses, entrust to faithful men and women who will be able to teach others as well. So you have Paul, he has Timothy as his disciple, so 2 generations of people there, telling Timothy, we've traveled together, we have been beaten together, we have shared the gospel together, we've lived life together. You need to entrust this gospel to somebody else who will then be able to teach somebody else as well. So 4 generations of people right there. And because of the lostness of South Asia, the highest concentration of lostness in India, we have that vision to see 4th generation churches planted in every district across India. District is another word for county. So our goal is to see not just 1 church planted, not just 2, 3, but we need to see at least 4 generations of churches planted with local leaders leading those. Not foreigners, but local leaders who have understood their call to be a shepherd over a flock of people. We did alongside of these brothers and their wives, and it was a really, brothers and their wives, and it was a really sweet time. You can see we're actually out in their village. It was about 3 to 4 hours from where we lived in Indore. It's in the middle of nowhere, which was actually really peaceful, because you go out there and you hear nothing. It's very, very quiet, except cows and chickens making their noises. So it was a really sweet time that we got to work alongside of these brothers, and Lauren, you can tell a little bit on the next slide.
Okay, you can go to the next slide. I'm not sure. Oh yeah, this is them again. Just some quirks and different things about working with people out in these rural village areas. Number 1, you can see they're farmers. You can see a little bit of the corner of the house in the back. These are usually mud or brick homes with straw or some type of, it's very makeshift. Animals are usually, like, we would sleep in their home for a couple of nights. We'd go out there for 3 or 4 days at a time and lead trainings and encourage them and study the word with them. I remember sleeping on these like little cots that they had for us and hearing like chickens and dogs coming in at like 2 in the morning, just like roaming around the house, because it's just like animals are just kind of in and out. They're a farming community. They raise goats. You can see that Pastor PR saying on the back in the pink shirt, he's holding a goat. They're getting ready to take that into town to sell that goat. And that goat would probably provide them with living wages for the next couple of months for their family. So they raise animals. This was at Eid, which is actually a Muslim holiday, but Muslims sacrifice goats at Eid as part of their cultural and religious ceremonies. And so they would raise goats and then go into town, and they knew that they could sell this goat for a higher price than usual because the Muslims were just supply and demand. They were wanting more goats during this time.
And as well, just to kind of bring clarity to their living situation, it's hard, especially for us coming from a place where we have air conditioning and heat inside. Their electricity would run for about 2 to 3 hours in the middle of the night. And so if they wanted to have fresh milled wheat or atta flour, charge their phones, you had to wake up at 2 a.m. and get to work. 2, 3, 4 in the morning if you wanted to be able to prepare food for the next day, if you just wanted to be ready and do any normal household chores. When that electricity came on, everyone woke up and you got to work. So there's a level of sacrifice that we did not realize before we left the States, and then walking life on life with these brothers and sisters, just the physical role that they take as believers in Christ, not because of their faith, which does happen, but even just the normal rhythms of life are just a lot harder. And so even though that happens, they are so persistent to love the Lord and to love one another. You'll see on the next slide, this is a plate with food on it. Believe that. So those are, this was actually in a different part of our state. Those are, what kind of leaves are those? Banana leaves that they wanted to show us the very cultural way that they enjoy food. And so they made these banana leaves for us. That on top is, I believe, chicken. And chicken in South Asia, what type of meat do we normally like as Westerners? We like the white meat, the chicken breast. Well, in South Asia, they believe to bestow honor upon you, you're going to get the chicken innards. And so, and the dark meat. And I'm like, okay. And you see the white meat of chicken sitting out to the side that they want to keep for themselves, even though they don't really like it. They're like, we'll keep the white meat. You can have the blessing of these other parts of the chicken. I'm like, no, can we just switch that? I'll take the white meat and you can take the other one. It doesn't work like that. So that is a little bit of chicken there. You'll see below that, it looks almost like a tortilla. So in Hindi, it's called a chapati or a roti. Very similar to what you would eat with Mexican food. They pretty much have that every single meal. They either have that or rice. And when I say rice, I mean plateful, plate upon plate of rice.
You can go to the next slide. So this is a picture of me with some of the pastors' wives and other women. You can see they're really modest. A couple of them were covering their heads in that last slide. Their babies, they don't have childcare. They're out in the field working with their babies strapped to their back as they're working in the fields, harvesting rice or wheat or corn or whatever it is. And then the reality is we actually lived in a really, it's called part of the tribal belt of South Asia or of India, and the reality is most women go to school until they're about 8 or 9 years old. Most of them are illiterate. They cannot read, they cannot write, and if they can, it's maybe just a little bit of Hindi, but they actually are not even fluent in Hindi. They actually speak a more tribal language that we did not speak, a different dialect from us. And so the men would speak, they could read and write, and so if I wanted to communicate with the women, sometimes I had to go through their husbands, or maybe there would be one woman who could speak some Hindi, and I had to speak to her, and then she had to translate it out to all the other women and to the children, because we spoke Hindi. It took us about 2 years to learn Hindi in a class setting and just practicing it, but they spoke Malvi or Bareilly or Barela, and we didn't speak that, we didn't learn it. And so that was just kind of one of those challenges, one of those barriers being out there. You can see this is pictures of our kids there in India. Our son up on the tractor, he loves all things transportation. We get asked a lot about what is it like raising kids overseas, and they don't know any different. They love it. Our son gets the travel bug about every month or two because we do travel a lot. Once you get over there to that side of the world, we have meetings in different countries, or we also have an administrative position where we kind of plan out meetings for different workers and other people in the field. So we travel a lot. Our kids love it. This was a picture of our son out in a more remote village. Jamie took him out there for one of our friends' weddings. You want to tell him about?
Yeah, so Lucken, he became a very close friend of ours when we arrived to Indore in 2018. He was a partner that Lauren and I got to connect with, and he invited us out to his village, which it's in an area called Rajgarh. Rajgarh is 3 hours north of Indore,